lot of people tend to really kind of sleep on social. Social is where a lot of the action is happening right now. And whether you're doing B2B, B2C, if you're not actively testing on social media, you're missing out on a massive market share potentially.
But I think a lot of people come into market now and a lot of these e-commerce brands, and it's just like what they're on is Facebook, Instagram, and they think they can just go run ads and they don't view it. I view ads as like a modular approach, right? Like you can look at your KPIs and see where you're getting hurt. And instead of just saying, oh, well, Facebook ads don't work for me. It's like, well, maybe if you just quit using these still images and have, a lot like video content proves to work well for a reason, right?
There's so many people out there that just don't know how their business is structured and don't understand long-term value, don't understand retention, don't understand how many times you're going to get a customer to buy that product in the course of a year. They don't get it. They think, I got this great product. You sell it once and why are they going to come back?
In some cases, paid ads are great. They work fantastic. For reputation management, it may or may not work for you. You may want to control the narrative with something like SEO, flooding it with reviews, things like that. It's just, again, right tool, right job. And I think a lot of people have this approach that everything looks like a nail on a hammer. Let's start smacking stuff around, right?
So for us, AI is a perfect intern that needs to be channeled appropriately. There is a lot for an AI to learn in our world where we are seeing a significant shift. So earlier, majority of these AI LLMs, they would go out, index everything that they possibly could and spit out data depending on prompts.
Phillip Hill, can you do a little bit of an introduction for yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm Phillip Hill. I'm the founder and CEO of Purebred Marketing. I've been in the e-commerce space for about 15 years and really just kind of have had a knack for marketing. And I always say I'm an accidental agency owner. At Purebred, we kind of have two sides of our business. So one side is we build custom e-commerce websites, do SEO and CRO. And the other side is all around partnerships. We're really known for our affiliate partnerships, but also do influencer marketing and creator management as well.
And Parin?
Hi, this is Parin Modi. I'm the managing partner at StrategiQ. We're a full-service B2B marketing services company focusing specifically on the manufacturing industry. We've been around for about 12 years. We've worked with over 500 companies, and we're very much mission-driven. And our mission is to create and save manufacturing jobs in the U.S.
And last but not least, Phil.
I'm Phil. I'm the founder and CEO of CrunchGrowth Revenue Acceleration Agency. We're a full-service agency. We focus primarily on e-commerce for consumer brands, marketing for consumer brands. I did not set out to start an agency. I've been an entrepreneur all my life and been in e-commerce since about the year 2000 when we launched one of the first meal sites online. And then subsequent to that, I founded a beauty brand and then a shaving brand. And the company that was our partner in that was supplying us with razors, after we had sold that brand, they asked me to do some direct marketing for them. And that's what founded the agency. But I've been doing CrunchGrowth has been around for about 12 years now.
Brian, you kind of joined at the right time. We just kind of started with introductions.
I'm a digital marketing agency owner. I kind of live at the intersection of marketing and cybersecurity. We do a lot with pen testing, things like that, just to kind of secure websites, as well as focus on everything from, what's working currently that Google says you should do and what's currently working with things that Google says you probably shouldn't do. So we are really into testing. We do a lot of things like that and really kind of push the limits in various environments.
I feel like there are quite a few experienced individuals here where if anyone else has a question, we can pretty much just ask each other that question. But one similarity that I kind of found between, the two Phils over here is that you guys have a little bit of, or quite a bit of history with entrepreneurship. I think Phillip Hill, when you had jumped into it, it was, I think, during college itself. And then from there, you just went and, here we are.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Do you want me to jump into that or give my background a little bit?
I was going to ask, can you do a little bit of background on that and how'd you kind of get into that specific industry?
Yeah, sure. So growing up, I was always the kid that just found ways to make money. I never had like a real job really, but I would always find ways to make money kind of throughout middle school, high school, into college. And but I didn't really understand how to build a real business. But after jumping around to a number of majors, I went and met with the dean. And I was like, look, I don't think I'm really cut out to go work in any of these career paths that I've kind of bounced around. And so he ended up letting me build a major that was entrepreneurship. And like he built a curriculum with me to take different types of marketing, management, finance classes, just kind of be what you need to be a well-rounded entrepreneur. And part of the curriculum was that I had to launch a real business. It happened to work. Thank goodness. And I was in a college town hanging around a bunch of broke college kids. And so I had to learn marketing online because nobody could afford to buy anything in our college town. So taught myself Google Ads, taught myself SEO. This was kind of like social media was a thing, but there were no Facebook ads yet. Instagram wasn't quite around. And so then once social started coming around, I really got intrigued with this free attention that came from those. And then once ads started coming out, I started running ads like at the very beginning of the launch of Facebook ads. And so I realized like all this marketing works for a bunch of other business models as well. And so I started a number of other brands and basically just got a lot of attention. You know, like when you rank at the top of Google, nobody knows that other than the people searching those terms. And that's how I built, you know, all of our traffic and sales engines was on Google. But once your social following starts growing, like everybody can see that. It's a public number, your engagement's public. And so I just started having friends and family coming to me like, what in the world are you doing to grow these brands? Like, you know, we post every day on social media, have 500 followers. I can't figure out what to do. And so kind of like Phil said, like, I just consider myself a complete accidental agency owner. There's just kind of enough demand and that I was just helping people and working, you know, a part-time job essentially for free. And then realized that there was enough demand to monetize. And so started out kind of a generalist agency just because it was a bunch of referrals coming in, but got back to what we really know best and kind of where we started, which was building direct consumer product brands.
And I think, Phil, you as well kind of, I wouldn't say that you were an accidental agency owner because you kind of started several brands. So either you were making quite a few accidents or you had some kind of plan to really do well with the entrepreneurship part.
Yeah, no, I founded my first business when I was 27 years old, but it was a disaster and it didn't work out so well. I did it for 3 years and I'm not one to give up, but at the end of the day, that one didn't work out the way I wanted it to. And I sold it and I took whatever money was left and I wound up I moved from New York to Maryland and I went to graduate school. I got my MBA, not because I thought I needed more education, but just because I needed to think differently. Things weren't clear to me. And so I took a little bit of money and I invested in this small company in DC and, we wound up growing it. And that's where I really learned, how to structure, how to put together systems, how to really lead people. And, after we sold that business, I started, some retail stores in DC selling food. And, then at the time, it was the late 90s. And at the time, I thought, I wonder if you could sell food on the internet. You know, I looked at, you know, like Omaha Steaks and some of these other ones that were selling direct to consumer, but in a different way. And we built one of the first meal sites online. And then both businesses were tied together and we wound up selling to a major supermarket chain because at that time, nobody really understood e-commerce. Nobody really understood websites. I mean, it was also new to people and they wanted to understand how they could build a website and use it for their home delivery shopping. And so they acquired us and my job, I had to go work for them for a couple of years on an earnout. And I wound up, taking that website and turning it into their shop from home delivery piece. And then I'm not a good employee, so I wasn't really good at working for somebody else. It doesn't fit for me. I left and I had this opportunity to build a skincare line, a beauty products line with this woman named Carol Alt. She was a supermodel back in the 80s and she had written a bunch of books on this whole raw food lifestyle. And so we built a beauty line around raw. We launched it on the shopping channels and here in Canada and around the world. And it was beautiful because, you know, that's really what we're doing today with video because you learn how to sell on TV. And, you know, we do it on Amazon, we do it on social. So we really got this understanding of how to tell stories and how to use video and television to sell a product. And we were quite successful for a number of years. We were one of the first brands on the Amazon marketplace in 2006 when Bezos opened it up to more than just CDs, music, books, etc. And then, we had obviously our own website and we were doing direct to consumer sales. And then I had this brilliant idea to go into the shaving business. We were going to use that as a platform to go in for women, but we got acquired, but I still want to do the shaving business. And so we approached the second largest shaving company in the world, the second largest razor company in the world, because we knew the top one, Gillette's never going to private label anything. And so we wound up getting a deal and we launched a shaving brand. And we did that for a number of years, but that market just got so hot because you got Harry's that came in, Dollar Shave Club came in. Everybody wanted to be in the shaving business all of a sudden. And we had something that nobody else had, which was an American-made razor and a supply agreement with the second largest razor company. So we wound up selling. And then after we sold, I sort of wasn't clear on what I was going to do next. And they came to me and said, look, you don't know anything about direct to consumer. We sell to supermarkets, drug. We sell, all over the place. We sell to Amazon. We don't know how to sell on Amazon. And I started building sites for them and setting them up on Amazon and doing all those types of things, and then do a direct to consumer marketing and setting them up on social media and doing it. We were doing it for them. And I sort of was treating it like a project in the beginning. And then I had to bring on all these people to help me because, I don't do development. I'm more of a strategy person. And so it turned into a business, an agency. I started hiring more people. I partnered with an agency, another group that was building websites. So we took them in and we sort of merged with them. And then I merged with a big social media agency. And so that's sort of how the whole thing, happened.
I just want to pose this question to everyone on the call itself. Is that the same feeling that everyone else had as well, that you might not be a good employee for a company, but you can sure as hell run the company?
No, so I'm listening to Philip and Phil. There is a clear pattern there. And now I'm questioning my entrepreneurship card because in football analogy, I'm one of those that basically just tried to read the defense and took what they gave me. So I completely attribute where I am to the universe because I started out in engineering. So we were one of the first voice over IP rollouts in the country. So my cradle was in engineering. And I learned in that fast-paced technology environment that you have to learn to innovate without a playbook. So that was a good thing to learn. But from there, I moved to Cummins Allison, which gave me a perspective on product marketing, go-to-market strategies, and helped me connect the dots between marketing, sales, and business objectives and engineering. And then from there, I was hired in to read Business Information, which was one of the biggest business-to-business trade publishers in the world, in the U.S., and I got to see different B2B industries across their marketing platforms, all the way from hospitality to manufacturing to construction. And that's when I realized that there is a significant need for sales support within the manufacturing companies. And that's how StrategiQ was formed. And actually, the board that you guys see behind me was my grandfather in the early 1900s starting a manufacturing company. So for me, life's come like full circle without any plan whatsoever. So I just have found a quote-unquote home where we get to work with manufacturing business owners and help them generate quantifiable growth. And it has been a very fulfilling experience, but not by design, for sure.
I think when it does come to you, it's kind of a very different, let's say, niche, because I feel like a lot of people will either go to marketing when it comes to beauty products or SEO and other, let's say, marketing stuff. But when it comes to industrial manufacturing, I feel like it's a totally different ballgame altogether. So I feel like since you are in that industry, if there are any questions the three of you have, Philip, Phil, and Brian, I think maybe now could be a good time to kind of pose them, because Parin might be probably the best person to answer those questions. Not to put anyone on the spot, but if any question does come up, Parin is the go-to guy.
See, again, this is serendipitous because It is typically the other way around because B2B is typically behind B2C. So it is typically B2B that looks at B2C to see what trends and what have they experimented. And right now I'm being asked the question. So it is very interesting in terms of how life has treated me. But one of the biggest things in manufacturing is we were treated more so as a media kit company. And the idea was we go and come up with pretty pictures, pretty PowerPoints and trade shows, and that was the role of marketing. And that culture has probably shifted so drastically in the last 10 years that it almost feels like a technology environment now. So I think you guys being on the retail side and the consumer side, I think you guys are probably on the cutting edge because it is competitive. You guys probably do a lot more experimentation on your side. And on our side, we don't probably have as much runway. And we're not as agile as you guys probably are.
I think you point out a really good thing right there. I think the name of the game right now is agile. And especially with AI, how fast things are iterating with that. We've seen several people, as a smaller agency, one of the things that makes us fairly competitive in the market space is that we can vibe code SaaS applications. We can vibe code pretty much anything that we want. And it puts us into the marketplace. It's kind of, first market with stuff. Whereas historically that may have taken us, a fair amount of time to develop, to iterate, to get to market. And we can split test. We can do a lot of that kind of market research in a fraction of the time that it used to take us to do. We just recently developed a software that essentially taps into various APIs and can spit us out almost real-time data that we can use to target a variety of home service contractors, right? We can tell you whether or not a hailstorm is going to hit your house or your neighborhood. And within a matter of days, we can have, door knockers printed out on someone's doorstep and be first to market, beat any of the competition to actually gain those eyeballs, right? So I think that's the big thing right now is how fast can you iterate? How quick can you get to market, test it, figure out what works, what doesn't work. And, I think another thing is that a lot of people tend to really kind of sleep on social. Social is where a lot of the action is happening right now. And whether you're doing B2B, B2C, if you're not actively testing on social media, you're missing out on a massive market share potentially.
Yeah, I would agree with that last statement. We only have 2 industrial clients that are B2B, and it started out running ads for employment about 8 years ago, and now we have this robust social media channel where and one's a construction company, and they love it. I mean, they're actually getting business off of it. It's pretty interesting what we were able to do with it.
Phil, I was wondering, with you saying your background was it seems like more or less like direct response infomercials back in the day. What do you know, or what are you seeing coming with like live selling and social selling? How does that relate to? Or are you looking into that at all from what your background was?
Oh, absolutely. That's why we're great at that. That's what I have a whole team built around that, because creating short form video to do social selling is something that we're great at, because it's true. We learned how to do DRTV. We learned how to do shopping channel stuff, and all that's relevant today. The other piece that's relevant is connected TV, running connected TV ads, which are so targeted and trackable and retargetable online. So for us, the core areas where we focus on right now is not so much running ads. We run a lot of ads, but we don't hang on ads as the primary driver for our clients to get sales. We mostly build out a platform of how to do video selling, whether it's on TikTok Reels, YouTube Shorts, whatever, but using short form to get that activity. And then even on Amazon, we use a tremendous amount of video on Amazon. And then using the Amazon DSP to get on Fire TV, because it's shoppable. So if you got somebody who's doing decent sales on Amazon, you can run connected TV ads on Fire TV, and Amazon will put this little shoppable click on it. And it's they could either scan a QR code or you could just use with their remote to click, or they can use their touch if they're watching it on an iPad or an iPhone. So it's, to me, video selling, storytelling selling, using short form video is absolutely 100% where you're getting the most activity from. And then translating that into a better quality piece of video content to use on connected TV and run that, not just on Amazon, but we run connected TV ads across all platforms through a DSP, and, very targeted. It's very targeted, very trackable. Because I always tell people, when we were doing television, we used to waste millions of dollars on TV ads because you had to do all this testing and trying to figure out where your customer was. And I just never bought into it. And the media buyers at the time, I think they just used to blow smoke, and then they'd hand you, you have to get this many impressions. And I just never liked it. But connected TV, it's perfect. I mean, it's beautiful. And then you know who interacted with your ads, who they are, and everything about them because, again, they're connected. They've signed in. So now you can retarget them online all day long, and your chances of conversion, you can get as high as 9, 10 ROAS if you've got something really triggering. I mean, you look at Dr. Squatch and what they did with connected TV ads, Graza, Truff, Potpourri, Squatty Potty. I mean, those guys were tremendous, getting 8, 9x ROAS. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, I figured that was a lot of what y'all were doing from what you said, but I think a lot of people come into market now, and a lot of these e-commerce brands, and it's just like what they're on is Facebook, Instagram, and they think they can just go run ads, and they don't view it. They just, I view ads as like a modular approach, right? Like you can look at your KPIs and see where you're getting hurt. And instead of just saying, oh, well, Facebook ads don't work for me. It's like, well, maybe if you just quit using these still images and have, a lot like video content proves to work well for a reason, right? And you have to adjust. Like if you hadn't adjusted what you were doing 20 years ago to these attention spans that are this big now, and the whole, modern era of how you can roll things out, and understanding how targeted you can get, and understanding attributions a million times better than it was back then. I think that there's so much that we can take from the past, but a lot of people just come and just throw some money at ads and hope that it works without really understanding the differences between how to use these different platforms.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think, but the other piece to it is there's a specific way to structure a video, even if you're using UGC content, when you're communicating with the micro influencer or an influencer, you want to give them sort of a structure, an outline of how to create that content. Because everybody thinks, okay, well, I'm doing video content. I just create these videos, but you can't just create a video and say, buy me, buy me, buy me. That doesn't work either. You have to do it the way, I spend a lot of time still watching Shopping Channel videos because I think watching the channel, I just love it. I think that they do it so well. And obviously they've been doing it for, they're on 40, 50 years of it. And so it obviously works, TV, some of the cheesy ones, that doesn't work so much anymore, but you can still take away how to structure the message and the sale and how to capture that audience in the first 3 seconds, because that's really
formulas.
Yeah.
Right. It's just formulas you use. Like if you go on TikTok Shop, this is kind of a fun thing to do. Go on TikTok Shop and look at the brands that are just absolutely killing it, the top brands for each category on TikTok Shop. And you'll see there's this like formulaic sequencing to all their videos. And they have tons of affiliates that are now, creators that are in there pushing sales, and they're all using this similar formula. And then you go to another product that's very similar, has tons of content around it, but they're just kind of haphazardly creating videos. And it's like, to the average person, these might seem like similar videos pushing similar products, but it's entirely different based on these simple structures that you have in place.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
So I've got a quick question to probably all three of you. Is each of you have a very unique distinct value proposition or unique service selling proposition? When a prospect comes to you, what is a typical business objective they have, and how do you typically frame your capabilities within the context? of those KPIs? Is there one that just resonates primarily for you guys in your respective sandboxes?
Well, I can only speak for myself, and we're a little bit different in the fact that we're very picky about who we do business with, because for the very same reason that we want to be successful and we want the client to be successful. So if you can express to us what makes your product different and unique, and I know everybody says, oh, you've got a point of differentiation. But when you start really honing in, everybody says they have a point of difference. But, just saying that you're better, I'm better quality. Better quality that's subjective and it doesn't work. You have to give me a real reason what makes you different and unique. Because if you can't express that, if you just come to us and say, well, I have popcorn, okay, well, my popcorn's better. I have more flavors. I'm not going to take your business because what am I going to say in an ad? Okay, we have more flavors and more business. It's got to be something. There got to be something to do. And then you have to build videos around it, and you have to build something that's going to capture their attention. And you have to you can't just treat the consumer like they're morons. You have to treat them with the respect that they've earned in the fact that you're going to solve a problem for them. So what does your product do that solves that problem for them? If there's 40 other guys out there doing the same thing, if there's nothing different, then you're just going to go down the hole of spending more money, and driving your price down because you have nothing that's unique. So for us, that's really the big question is what is it about your product that's going to set you apart from everybody else? Because then I can work with it and I can run and we can do all kinds of things. I got a whole team of young people that just love creating that kind of environment.
Yeah, I'll add to that. So the discovery calls we take, about half of them, we just tell the brands we're not a good fit. And it's for a variety of reasons. Most of the time, it's just we're not super confident in the ROI they'll see because either A, like Phil is saying, if you can't describe to me what's actually different and I believe it, having a full conversation with you, how are you going to get the average consumer just from what you can get in online marketing to actually believe that they should buy your product and that it's better? But some of the others are just understanding the financial models of these companies. And a lot of marketers come from, if they're on the analytical side of things, sure, they understand this, but a lot of the creative sides, they just get started. They're it's great product, cool brand. And then you look at the business model and it's these tactics that you're starting out with, there is no way for you to be profitable. If somebody wants us to build an affiliate program for them, if you bring me something that's a $25 product that you sell one time, your LTV is almost about the same as your AOV. How much are you really going to be able to incentivize people to promote a $25 product? You're going to pay them a couple bucks and think they're going to take time out of their day to write blogs and write reviews and create YouTube videos. It's not going to happen. So people, even with paid acquisition, we don't run any paid anymore. But when I'm doing fractional CMO work and I look at people that think that Facebook ads, the first thing they do because they see Facebook ads everywhere. I had this conversation last week at a trade show with this lady that I think probably has created the best, healthiest deodorant that actually works. It's completely natural, no fragrances, all this stuff. And I was look, I know that I'm giving you unsolicited advice, but you're trying to build this out as a DTC brand. It's impossible. You have a $25 product that lasts 2 years. You cannot acquire customers that inexpensively. That I think you have an incredible product. As a consumer, I hope you piss me off by shrinking your product size by 80% or something, because I think you have a great product. But from a financial standpoint, this business does not make sense. But a lot of people would just take their money, and say they'll run something and they just turn and burn clients. And we're trying to build long-term relationships. But I think a lot of brands, they need to understand, past the product. So that's the first thing. Do you have real value props? Do you have real differentiators? And then other than that, it's do you really understand how your financial model works? Understand what you can pay to acquire customers? Because if you don't understand that, how do you know what channels you can go after and be able to forecast and things like that? So kind of having a full comprehensive understanding of people need to have a full understanding of their business model and financial forecasting done before they just start throwing money at marketing. And then I just very upfront, people get pissed at me. They're then they try to sell me on why we should take it, why we should work with them. I'm I'm looking out for you. I don't want you to spend $1 if you're not going to make a few back.
Yeah. Well, I do coaching as well. And so I'll offer that up if they don't, do it. Most of the brands that we work with are over that, $10 million a year mark, but we do a lot of startups. If I like a product and I think we could really help them, we'll take them on. But those guys, they always need coaching. And it's not because I want to make money coaching. It's because I want to see them succeed. And I want them to be a long-term client of ours, So, but you're 100% right. There's so many people out there that just don't know how their business is structured and don't understand long-term value, don't understand retention, don't understand how many times you're going to get a customer to buy that product in the course of a year. They don't get it. They think, I got this great product. You sell it once and why are they going to come back?
And a lot of them, they'll go raise money from friends and family that are just excited about the idea. And then they get to that next round and they go try to raise from real investors and they start asking them all these questions we're talking about. It's like, good luck raising money if you don't understand what this looks like when you put it on paper.
Yep. I think there's that disconnect between the actual business acumen side of things and exactly what you're describing there. Well, my friends and family said that I should start a restaurant. They said I should start a business. So we're a whole hog. Let's go right into this. And I think that there's that disconnect where a lot of people going into it don't necessarily have the business savvy to understand here's what it actually takes and here's how you get to the next level. If you're wanting to go from point A to point B, this is what it's actually going to take. And I think a lot of times people do have unrealistic expectations. Phillip, I know you mentioned you were doing SEO and stuff like that. And I hear a lot of times people will say, oh, well, I could get $500 SEO. It's like, you're going to get $500 SEO and you're going to piss away $6,000 a year and you're not going to get results. You're going to come back to me and be like, SEO doesn't work. SEO is dead, right? I see it in a lot of ways that it's all of these things are tools, right? And we have to determine what's the right tool for the right job. And just because you have a hammer doesn't make you a master carpenter. It's how do you leverage that tool? What's the best methodology? What's the best use case? In some cases, paid ads are great. They work fantastic. For reputation management, it may or may not work for you. You may want to control the narrative with something like, ORM, SEO, flooding it with reviews, things like that. That it's just, again, right tool, right job. And I think a lot of people have this approach that everything looks like a nail on a hammer. Let's start smacking stuff around, right?
I'm going to interrupt here for a little bit and we'll ask two questions mainly. One to Phil and one to Parin. Phil, just a bit more of a personal question, but how many years of experience do you have in this entire, since the time you started working till now? How long would you say that is?
About 35 years.
Okay, cool. Just making sure, because I was going to say that I think you have more work experience than I have life experience. So you're probably good enough to kind of answer some of the questions that I have here. But I want to ask Parin, and I think this question will go to all of you as well. When it does come to AI, because I feel like that's the topic that's going to just kind of take over the rest of this conversation. When it does come to AI, how exactly are you leveraging that in your own operations or with your own teams?
So for us, AI is a perfect intern that needs to be channeled appropriately. There is a lot for an AI to learn in our world where we are seeing a significant shift, even within AI, as volatile as it has been, is what I'm going to call RMR, which is basically reasoning meets retrieval. So earlier, majority of these AI LLMs, they would go out, index everything that they possibly could, and spit out data depending on prompts. And now with ChatGPT 5.0 coming out, some of the other LLMs coming out, we're seeing that they're actually making the LLM more efficient by not storing knowledge. They're focusing more on reasoning and insight and intelligence, and then they're leaving the data collection to other third parties that they can go procure at any given point, which we have found to be extremely helpful. In fact, we find that to be a game changer in terms of how AI will get leveraged within the marketing world, because when it comes to user behavior, buying journeys, it helps us find some real key insights that a lot of times our customers don't have. I mean, when I hear Phil and Phillip and talk about all these things about, we're going to weed out these people, that's our daily bread and butter, because a lot of times our customers don't know what they don't know. And we have to kind of help them sift through all of this. And something like an AI will help us get some real world insights, so long as we have enough industry experience in-house to be able to vet the information we've collected and use as intelligence to craft specific marketing strategies.
Well, I mean, we've been using AI 5 or 6 years, maybe more. And the place where I saw the best results from using AI was in the ability to gain insights from large amounts of data that you could pull off of. Because you get a new client and they've been running ads or they've been doing all kinds of things for years. And to be able to take all that information and try and look at it manually is very difficult. But we found tools early on that we could dump a ton of data in and just get great insights out of it. So the whole data analytics part of it, I think, is game changing. And even with running ads, we started using a couple of tools about 4 or 5 years ago, especially on Amazon, that were just phenomenal at looking at behavior and delivering ads in a different way than just keyword search or, just bidding on a keyword and paying the most. And then we do a tremendous amount of video work. So using it to do video editing, but not video creation. I'm not a big fan of what I see on like Anthropic and all that as far as, creation of the video world yet. I think it's fine for certain things, but not for running consumer product ads. And same thing with images. We don't use them for consumer product ads. We still create images just because I don't see how you can connect with a customer using some AI driven ad yet. Some people are doing it, but it's just not for us. But, and then content creation and ideation, things like that. Scripts, giving us a first draft of a script, we use it for. So it's all over the place for us. It's just another tool in the belt, but we've been using it for quite some time. I found a great freaking tool for doing stuff on LinkedIn and just communicating with people. It's been an unbelievable thing because it actually takes me and responds to people and responds to messages and responds to emails just as if it were me. And which I think is phenomenal. So that's a time saver for me.
I just want to ask one quick question again, Phil. You had mentioned UGC a little while back. And since we are talking about AI, I wanted to get your thoughts on this. There are now AI, avatars that are trying to create UGC. But that's, I feel, very inauthentic because you're creating an AI person who never used the product and is now going to promote it and market it somehow. What are your thoughts on that? And if anyone else also has thoughts, then I'd be happy to hear that.
Those guys in Spain, there were a couple of guys in Spain that did that like 2 years ago. And they claimed, that this was going to change the game. And, some of our clients were going, oh, can we do this? And we tested it. And and I said, look, we can do it. We can test it. But you're talking about this AI persona. It's not you. It's not authentic. And I don't think it's going to work. I think people are going to reject it. And they did. So I think, to a certain extent, it's got a ways to go. But, you have to, in this day and age, right, you're selling a product to a consumer, right? It's got to be authentic. The brands, when you look at the brands today that have communicated and gotten a connection with the customer, with the end user, look at Glossier, look at what she did. You look at Graza and look at what they did with just building connections, and they built brands off of that. I don't see how you can build a connection when it's not you. And granted, you can put all the words in you want, but it's still not you. The customer today, especially under 45, they want to know who they're buying from, what that brand stands for, and what it's going to do for them. So that's my feeling on it.
I mean, a brand is built on mission, values, like all the things of connection that Phil was saying, but also there's this huge element in trust. And how do you have trust with something that's not real? And especially, I feel like today, like you don't know if something's a scam online. You don't know if it's going to take, 8 weeks to get to you because it's shipped from halfway across the world, but it doesn't really say anything. Like, are you getting thrown into a subscription that you didn't actually think you signed up for? Like, there's so many things like this going on that I think trust is as important as ever. And I think it's going to continue to skew that way as content comes out. Like, we don't even know what's real anymore today. Right. And so I think there'll have to be some sort of regulation on there. But like the more trust and credibility that you have as a brand, the more helpful it is for all of your customer acquisition, your retention channels, all of that. So I think that it's something that's novel right now. And I do think that you can reach audiences. Like if you can build an audience, you can get in front of them. But is that going to convert? Like probably not, or not nearly as well as, a real person that you actually trust, look to for insights, you're following them for a reason. So I mean, I think it is similar to what we've seen with influencer marketing over the last decade. Influencer marketing was like the best performance marketing channel there was 10 years ago because everybody trusted the influencers. People didn't really realize there was this connection to the brand. There was no rules around tagging that it was an ad or sponsored or anything like that. Go send somebody a $100 product. They have 1 million followers and they post it. Like today, that would never happen. And so there's one, influencers know what they're worth, but some think they're worth maybe 10 times what they actually are worth. But it also like there's a lack of trust. And so these influencers, the ones that can really make a difference is because they've like stayed true to themselves and they only promote products they actually use or actually like and actually stand behind. And so the ones that just peddle anything that comes through their, through their inbox, like nobody trusts them anymore. And it is really not very helpful for the brand. And I think it's similar, except to kind of another level of that it's not even a real person that's promoting these.
So I'm going to bring a black sheep argument to this case. So we always like to do that, right? Do this. I would argue that the way that AI is moving, it is the Wild West right now, and 100%. You don't necessarily need to be 100% authentic. And let me preface this with the fact that like AI influencers, with anything that, can be synthetically recreated, deep fakes are coming a very long way. I've played around with some that can synthetically make me look like an absolutely, gorgeous supermodel, right? Do facial mapping and you would know zero difference between me and someone else that I could potentially be, impersonating online. I think that that's a very real thing as it comes to AI. I have colleagues that are making well into the upper 5 figures with AI influencers and doing things like AI OnlyFans, even though that is technically against their terms of service. But the thing is that being that it is the Wild West right now with AI, there's always going to be those people that do push the limits that are able to do that. And to the point of, people are out there, they're looking at trust. We have seen a shift from people explicitly using Google to using social media as a form of search engine, right? TikTok. You're looking at Instagram. You're looking at those influencers. You're looking at things like that. AI overviews are incredibly easy to influence. As was mentioned earlier, they're dropping the whole idea of a database into more real-time data. And the unfortunate caveat to that is it is incredibly easy from an SEO perspective to influence that. We've seen results in as little as 4 to 6 hours taking the top result, influencing the AI overview and choosing one particular target over another. It's incredibly easy. This goes back to SEO circa 2008, 2009, before Panda, Penguin, any of those spam updates that Google has put out. A lot of what I'm seeing is very reminiscent of that.
Yeah, I agree that, like I said, when it comes to consumer product, I think there's a clear distinction between trying to sell a consumer product and using an AI avatar versus, OnlyFans. I mean, certainly, guys will look at any kind of porn. They've proven it. They'll look at, and they're just stupid. And so, yeah, you can make money doing that type of thing. But I'm talking specifically, in my opinion, and the question was really focused around, the micro influencers or the influencers. And I just don't see it. I see people doing it, but I don't see the results from it. And like I said, we've tested it, but I do see people making money with it. I certainly see people being successful with it. And I do see, a lot of fake porn, out there. And
well, it's not just that. We're also seeing the same thing with faceless videos, right? The unboxings. You can totally do that. VO3 is fantastic. They're between that model and then also the Hunyen video. It's open source. It's basically VO3 open source. You have to prop it up on its own server. But using something like that, we've tested faceless videos, unboxings, different things like that. And the only difference that we were able to see on some of those between real life is that sometimes, like if they're playing music or if they're, if it's a piano, if it's a guitar, things like that, if you really know the industry, you would be like, that's not a C chord. You're actually playing E minor, right? And that's where it becomes like, as AI progresses, it's becoming increasingly difficult to identify that stuff, which I think that there's use case for things like that. And especially, if you are talking actual people using the product, getting out, doing that kind of things, yes, there is definitely use case for that. And there's an authenticity component that goes into it, depending on what the product is, I would say. And like you're saying, porn, that sells itself. As far as unboxings and things like that, I mean, all of that could potentially be done through AI. And I think there's a blend of also understanding, just like we would take on just any client, what is it that they're actually trying to sell? And does it necessitate, can you get by with AI video? Do you need to have authentic video, right? I think a lot of it does come down to, again, right tool, right job.
Yeah. I mean, you can do anything with AI. You're 100% right. The question is, because if I'm building a brand and I'm trying to build authenticity with my customer and get them to trust my product and get them to trust what I'm selling, and all it takes is one bad AI video, and I just blew all that work that it took me 6 or 7 months, because then the customer goes, and all it takes is one of those videos to come across with the 6-fingered person, or the mouth movement isn't hitting the same, and it happens all the time. And people when you're on social media as much as we are, you can see people picking it out. They pick apart stuff and they're not stupid. And so that's why I'm saying, it's just, for us, it's not worth it at this point to do it. We've tested it, and we don't use AI generated images and we don't use AI generated videos. I mean, we've tested it numerous times and it just doesn't perform as well. And people pick it out and they see it. But I will give you this, about 5 months ago, we have one brand. About 5 months ago, we started seeing orders coming in through ChatGPT search. And I was like, we need to figure out how to get brands showing up in there. So I agree with you on the SEO part. AI is changing, or ChatGPT search, or any of the AI search engines are definitely changing the way that SEO is working. And there are things you have to do on the website, things you have to do, with the product, how you have to feed that information in and all that to make a difference. And you're right. It can happen very quickly. And we've done it a couple of times now, and it has happened very quickly. And then you have to maintain it, because it's not like Google where you've got all these links, right? You got Search Console, you got analytics, you got, AdWords, you've got all this stuff happening automatically through. So, you have to sort of manage it and feed it. But I think the future of search. I read a statistic the other day that Google ChatGPT search is getting 2.2 billion searches a day. It was the fastest search engine to get to 1 billion faster than Google. And Google's getting 12 billion searches per day, and they're declining, and ChatGPT search is growing. So yeah, absolutely. I think ChatGPT search, or search, AI-driven search, is going to change SEO, no question.
I want to thank all of you all for coming on this call today and having this conversation with each other. I feel like we got some good nuggets out there as well. So hopefully our viewers and listeners get to benefit from this too. The one thing I want to say, and it's not really too much of a question, is do you have any closing statements, let's say, or just an outro for yourself, I guess?
Well, I always have something to say. I think that if you're a marketer out there, you have to look at what's changing in the market. You have to experiment. You can't just say, well, you can't discount anything at this point, but you do have to check and try and test and try and test and just iterate constantly with new tools, because the world is changing rapidly. AI is absolutely changing everything we do. You just have to figure out what that tool, like you said a couple of times, best tool for the best job. So you have to figure out how to use it best to achieve the result you're trying to achieve.
I'll piggyback off of Phil and say that don't bite more than you can chew. There are 1,000 rabbits you can chase, but make sure you actually have a right question, because there's answers everywhere you go. The hard part is, do you have the right question? And if you have the right question, you'll look for the right answers, and you don't need to do everything to be successful. You just need to do a few things well.
Yeah. The biggest thing I would say with AI tools is be ready to spend a lot of time on things that are not going to end up being the quality that you need them to be. But the things that you do find that you can use consistently and like workflows you can build, the amount of time you can save from an efficiency standpoint for those things that do work well, it ends up paying off. But I know I just empathize with people that have spent hundreds of hours trying things that they get 95% of the way there. And they're like, shit, this last 5% was really important. And it's just not quite where I need it to be. So I think it is important to go into it with the mindset that like, you're going to find some things that are in huge game changers and just be okay with some of the time being spent, more or less being a loss, that it's not quite where you need it. And these tools will evolve. And a lot of that 5% gap probably gets closed over the next few years as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I would echo Phil saying the idea of testing and test both what you know and test against a non-preconceived idea of what works. Having worked in both very white hat SEO as well as probably some of the black hat SEO as well as cybersecurity, I can tell you what you're told often isn't always true. I can tell that you need to be able to prop up not just a test for your clients, and obviously don't test on client stuff, but making sure that you have the ability to prop up something that is basically a throwaway site. You can burn this sucker to the ground and it's not going to affect a client. It's not going to affect, your business. It is completely isolated. That is one of the most important things that I tend to see most marketing companies fail at, is they're willing to operate within this small bubble in this small box, whereas the successful people that I've seen, they're constantly iterating, constantly testing, and they're pushing the limits of what's capable and what's possible.
Well, again, Phil, Philip, Brian, Parin, I thank you all for coming on this call and, having this discussion on this podcast as well. So hopefully we get you back on a round 2 and we can go dive into those AI topics a bit more. But until then, thank you again.
Sure.
Thank you.
Excellent opportunity. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.